Hi class, we need to take a look at problem 2. And in problem 2, the instructions are to solve and to use any method basically that we covered so far. Now, notice that on problem 2a, the variable's at the bottom. So here it is actually a good idea to use cross multiplication. Let me just review the cross multiplication. And here's the basic idea. So if you have a fraction, in this case, a fraction equaling another fraction, you basically multiply these two and those two. And what that does is it cancels the fraction. And now you're left with an equation that doesn't contain any fractions. Obviously, we're assuming that none of the values on the numerator or denominator are actually equal to 0 for this to work properly. So on this problem, we're going to be multiplying the 6 and the x, the 12 and the 18. Let me rewrite it and put the x's on the left-hand side. So in this case, 6 and x is going to be 6x is equal to the values of 12 times the values of 18. And then we'll carry on a division by 6. So we're looking at x is equal to 12 times 18 divided by 6. Let me cancel or reduce the 12. So in this case, 12 is 6 times 2 times 18, and we have a division by 6. And then at this point, canceling common factors cancels the actual 6's. And we're left with 2 times the values of 18, which is going to give us 36. As a final answer, we're going to rewrite it as x is equal to the values of 36. That's actually it for this problem. Let me double check the cancellation. But we are good on all the steps. Let's take a look at problem B. Now, B looks a little bit more messy because of the decimals. And let's also use cross multiplication. So we're going to multiply these two and those two. And I'll put the x's on the left-hand side. So in this case, we're going to have 4.1x is equal to 2.3 times 5.6. And then let's carry the division. So we're going to be dividing by 4.1 and dividing by 4.1. This is going to give us x is equal to 2.3 times 5.6 divided by 4.1. Let me carry the multiplication of the numerator on the side. So in this case, we're going to be multiplying 5.6 times 2.3. This is going to be an 18. We carry 1. 5 times 3 is equal to 15, and 1 is 16. And then 6 times 2 is equal to 12. We carry another one, 10, and then 11. And let me carry the sum. So this will be an 8. That's an 8, 8, 2, and a 1. So with 2 decimal places, I'm looking at 12.88. So let me rewrite it. This is going to be 12.88 divided by 4.1. Okay, so let me just double check the multiplication, but we're good up to here. At this point, let me express this as an actual fraction. So I'm going to multiply by 100 to move the decimal place 2 places, and then also the denominator by 100. And this is going to give us 1288 divided by 410. And they happen to be divisible by 2. So we're going to end up with 644 and 205. Let me double check the division. Give me just a second. Okay, we're good up to here. At this point, this fraction doesn't reduce any further. I'm not going to leave it as a fraction because your original numbers contain one decimal. So I'm going to carry the division and then carry at least one decimal. So at this point, we're looking at 205 and we're dividing 644. So we're looking at a total of 3. 3 fits. So 5 times 3 is equal to 15. We carry 1. 3 times 0 is equal to 0 times 1. Plus 1, I mean. And then 3 times 2 is equal to 6. At this point, we subtract. That's going to be now a 3. And this is a 14. So this is going to give us a 9, a 2, and a 0. We are going into the decimals. So let me put the decimal there and add the 0. So it's just going to fit 1. So 205. And as we carry the subtraction, we're looking at 85. Let me just double check. Yeah, we're good on the 85. And then I'm just going to go one more into the decimals. So adding the 0 and then the 4. 5 times 4 is equal to 20. We carry 2. 4 times 0 is equal to 0 plus the 2 would be 2. And then the 8 will carry the subtraction. And this is going to give us a 30. Now, the division actually continues, but I'm just going to carry one decimal place. So in this case, I'm just going to say that this is approximately 3.1. Let me quickly divide it out and see what's the next decimal in case we have to round up. Okay, we're actually good because the next one would be a 1. I just didn't see it with this port here. So we could leave it as 3.1 and then technically 4 for the final answer. There's no instructions on how to express this one. So the possible answer, the following answers are perfectly fine. So x is equal to 644 divided by 205 as an exact value, or x is approximately 3.14. Both of these are perfectly fine. Okay, that's it for this one. They didn't mention to use a calculator, so I did use the calculator to verify the divisions to make sure that everything was correct. So that's it for problem B. Let's move on to problem C. Okay, problem C is not going to be that long. And what I'm going to do here, since the instructions say to use any method, it does say use any method. We're not going to do the cross multiplication. We're just going to multiply times the values of 3, and that will finish the problem. So r divided by 3 is equal to technically 3 over 1. And then in this case, multiply by 3, multiply by 3. The 3's cancel on the left. And then we're left with the values of r is equal to 3 times 3, or 9. Final answer, r is equal to 9. So here, cross multiplication would have just required us to rewrite one more step with 1 times r. This one ended up being about the same in terms of length. Let's move on to D. And D, yeah, let's use cross multiplication. We do have a fraction there. So I'm going to put the variables on the left. So technically we have 1/2 times r. It's equal to 8 times 4. And then at this point, let's multiply by 2 and by 2. And then that cancels that fraction. So we're left with so the 2's cancel. And then we're technically left with r is equal to, well, 8 times 4 times 2, or 32 times 2, or the values of 64. So final answer, r is equal to 64. That's it for D. Let me take another look. But this is just 1/2 times r, 8 times 4, and then we end up multiplying it times 2. Let's move on to E. Okay, and this particular one requires that we remember a property. The property is if you have 3 divided by 0, this is undefined. Now here's the problem. We're solving an equation. So whenever in your equations you end up with an undefined value, in this case, the ratio of 3 divided by 0, you would automatically say no solution. Or if they want the set, in this case, it'll be the empty set. You can rewrite it as the squiggly brackets with nothing on it, or a 0 with a line across. In any case, this is the no solution case. So you wouldn't say that x is undefined. You could mention x is undefined, then no solution. So your final answer should be including the no solution. This is one that unfortunately doesn't have a solution. And as I'm moving on to F, make sure that we're not confusing it. If you have a 0 on the numerator divided by a number that is non-zero, this is just simply 0 is equal to x. So in this case, x is equal to 0 would be our final answer. And make sure that we're not confusing them with problem E, where you're not allowed to divide by 0. That's actually it for these set of problems. I'll put the rest of them on another video.